From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Trade or aid? Producers from Farm Progress Show weigh in. Wrapping up corn harvest in the Mississippi Delta. In analysis, why is the corn market down during talk of a new NAFTA?
It does provide some relief for the market, but the market fundamentally just has so many other things happening in front of it that's keeping a lot of pressure on commodities.
Plus, what's the most popular apple? There's a new king of the crop. And take a seat at the theater in the great outdoors.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Clinton Griffiths is on assignment at Farm Progress Show. We'll check in with him momentarily. Much of the talk across the showgrounds centers on USDA's tariff aid package. Some ag sectors feel the program falls short and comes nowhere close to make up for losses in exports. Of the $12 billion aid package, $4.7 billion will end up as payments to farmers to offset losses from trade disputes with foreign buyers. The big winner is soybeans. That crop accounts for 3/4 of the payout. USDA says soybean farmers will receive $1.65 per bushel. The payment is based on 50% of the farmer's production this year, and they'll need to show actual production before they can sign up for aid checks. Doing the math, if you harvest 500 acres of soybeans, which yields 50 bushels an acre, then factor in the 50% cap, multiply $1.65, a farmer's payment would be $20,625. Pork producers will also receive payments. They amount to $8 a head for 50% of the pigs they owned on August 1st. The pork export market has felt the impact of higher tariffs in China and in Mexico, two of the biggest buyers of U.S. pork. The National Pork Producers Council saying $8 per hog is not going to make producers whole, but it's a short-term fix.
So by no means does this payment make our producers whole, but it does certainly provide some short-term relief in the face of the retaliatory tariffs. Perhaps just as importantly, as part of the Food Purchase and Distribution Program, USDA is committed to purchasing $559 million worth of pork product to put into food assistance programs, which is about 45% of their total expenditures.
The three-prong approach is the Market Facilitation Program, known as direct payments to producers, the Food Purchase and Distribution Program Baker referred to, and the Ag Trade Promotion Program to gain more market share. Baker saying NPPC's main issue is for Washington to figure out a quick solution to the trade disputes. One of the groups feeling shortchanged is NCGA. Under the plan, corn growers would receive a penny per bushel. NCGA says the aid package is insufficient to even begin to address the damage done to the corn market. Other farm groups are also speaking out on the aid plan. Clinton Griffiths has been talking with some of the leadership. He joins us now from Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa. Clinton?
Betsy, we have pretty good crowds here at the Farm Progress Show for 2018, but the biggest topic of conversation is not necessarily about the crop we have growing in fields across the country. It's still about trade and the recently announced trade assistance package. Talking with grain growers groups, much of the reaction depends on which side of the dial you're on. For soybean growers, $1.65 is a sure sign of support.
We hope that, we're going to get half of it after our 218 production is turned in and verified. We hope that, they said that we could the other half may come next year, depending on what the markets do. I hope we never get it. I hope that the markets rebound and come up, that some negotiations are done between the two presidents here in November, and it's all over.
But for corn growers and the 1 cent per bushel payout, there are questions around how USDA arrived at that number.
We commissioned a study with the University of Illinois. They went back to before the tariffs were announced and until present time. They told us in that study that there was a 44-cent decrease in the price of corn during that time. We sent that study to USDA along with some comments, so they knew our position going in, and we're pretty disappointed that they came up with a penny for corn.
I think soybeans is impacted more, and I think that this package says that that's what they recognize. And there's not many corn farmers that's not soybean farmers, kind of like in the South, if you're growing cotton, you're growing peanuts. So, you know, they may not get it on both crops, but they're going to get some help on some significant help on soybeans.
One thing all these farm groups can agree on is that getting a trade framework with Mexico is a step in the right direction. Now, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue is supposed to be at the show later today. You can bet he's going to be fielding questions on trade and probably the renewable fuel standard from farmers here on site. Betsy?
Thanks, Clinton. Trump administration officials are hailing their new preliminary deal with Mexico to replace the North American Free Trade Agreement. But questions remain about whether Canada will be willing to agree to a new pact.
The president's objective is to have deals with Mexico and have a deal with Canada. And if we could do it as one deal, we'll do it as one deal. If we do it in two deals, this is a complicated agreement. There's lots of things in here that are all new. I would think that Canada would be very much on board with stronger intellectual property, stronger protections, modernizing the agreement. So I'm hopeful that the open issues with Canada can be resolved quickly.
U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer wants to notify Congress of a deal by Friday. Several U.S. lawmakers say they will fight the administration if it tries to seal a deal without Canada. Meanwhile, Canadian officials arrived in Washington Tuesday for trade talks. Canadian media is reporting a new chief ag negotiator has been named. Mike Hoffman is joining us now this morning with a look at crop comments. Mike?
Good morning, Betsy. Let's start off in Boone, Iowa, where Farm Progress Show is taking place this week. On Tuesday, the site was temporarily evacuated due to severe weather. Clinton and Tyne at the show sending us this picture. Also, in Rock County, Minnesota, a farmer sending us this picture on Twitter of sudden death syndrome in soybeans. The farmer says that the area has received a lot of rain all growing season. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, a little bit breezy from the eastern lakes down in Oklahoma and Texas, even to start the day. Gets windier with the storm system moving through the Great Lakes and some spots from western Nebraska westward. Heading into the day tomorrow starts to turn windy in the northwestern plains, as you can see there. And checking out the afternoon hours, it gets only windier in the northern plains, central plains as well, and parts of the west. I'll have your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets8 to 31313 to get started.
Just like the folks at Farm Progress who are dodging storms, farmers in Louisiana are working around rainfall as they try to close out corn harvest. And as LSU Ag Center's Craig Gautreaux reports, yields are varied.
When the opportunity arises, farmers are racing to get this year's corn harvest completed. The harvest is running late, and that can be blamed on the weather. Rain delayed planting, and now it is slowing the harvest. Inconsistent yields are another byproduct of the weather.
Yields are anywhere from lower, a little disappointing, to really good. Kind of depends, and it doesn't matter if it's irrigated or not. It just kind of varies according to the field.
Chad Evans farms just outside of Harrisonburg in Catahoula Parish. He has seen firsthand how yields vary from field to field.
First corn we've cut's been pretty good. What we're in right now is a little weak.
Evans and Burns were harvesting a verification field that was planted late because of the weather. Late planted corn yields are generally lower because the higher nighttime temperatures of summer decrease pollination, meaning fewer kernels and smaller ears. The weather may have also affected the crop rotation schedule.
Some of it went in as corn behind corn, where normally we're in a corn, soybean, or corn cotton rotation. This year, with the rains and all that came, being later, the fields that dried out first, perhaps were in corn. In 2017, went back to corn.
The 2018 corn harvest is shaping up to be what many term as a normal crop, and will certainly not be a bin buster for Louisiana farmers.
I think we're probably going to be overall an average corn crop. I think there's been enough low yielding areas to offset anything that was way above average.
Growers are expected to complete the harvest by the end of August. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Ahead in the show, we take a deeper dive into NAFTA and its impact to the corn market. Later, it's showtime in the dairy state, where the stage is surrounded by the natural beauty of Wisconsin. Details as we head in the country.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
get a look at grain markets midweek as we head to the CME floor in Chicago.
Today, soybeans fell. It seems that the market is really eyeing that support level down at 826. Now, we got down to about 836 today, but it's only 10 cents to go before it really starts to level off. It just seems like the market really started to sell off. We're at the end of the summer. The harvest is here. We're experiencing a little bit of harvest pressure right now. Wheat also was steady, kind of like a little bit mixed. It seems like that it started a little bit higher on that Egypt demand, and so that coming up really helped it a lot. It looks like that the U.S. wheat finally is in competition somewhat, and some of these countries are looking to us to fulfill, what they need. That being said, even though there has been some reduction around the world, it's not really enough to kind of eat through all of the supplies that we have. So while we did get a little bit of a bump today, it kind of came back a little bit. We finished higher, so that's really a positive right now, because it would have been 7 days in a row that wheat has fallen. So maybe we found a little bit of equilibrium right now.
In this morning's analysis, Tyne Morgan joins us from the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa, where we discuss grain markets and the response to Monday's news of a new trade agreement with Mexico.
Here now is Steve Nicholson of Bravo Agri-Finance. We saw a potential trade deal with Mexico come out this week. Yet, Steve, we really didn't see corn prices respond favorably, something that a lot of market analysts thought if we see NAFTA happen, that we would see corn respond. So with a bilateral deal with Mexico, why wasn't it enough to boost corn prices?
Well, we have to remember the whole NAFTA negotiations, a lot of it was around cars and not agriculture. And so now you have, the only thing that came out in agriculture was we're not going to put any more, no more tariffs. We kind of checked the box and said, we're going to do what we did before, no tariffs, no duties, and just continue trading. It does provide some relief for the market, but the market fundamentally just has so many other things happening in front of it that's keeping a lot of pressure on commodities.
All right, so if NAFTA or a potential deal with Mexico isn't enough to impact corn prices, what is it going to take, Steve?
I think that's the real question. What is it going to take? I do think when we talk about yields, and I think there's a lot of view is that after we get through the next, we've had kind of a hot period.
Right.
Corn yields probably aren't as high as USDA said. So that the market now is going to have to think, if we get 2 or 3 bushels back, the market will go, ooh, maybe we need to go up a little bit. And I would think that'll happen. The concern is next year going forward.
So you think if we see a pop in this market, it's short term?
Yes, it's a short term pop. It's an opportunity for farmers to get some sales on the books and move forward, because what happens when prices come up and we look at next year, we get more acres and then we see prices come back down.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Steve
Thank
Nicholson
you, Tyne.
again with Bravo Agri-Finance. We need to take a quick break and then we'll have a check of weather right here on Ag Day.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, it looks as if the eastern Corn Belt and central Corn Belt still getting some rain.
Yeah, lots of showers and thunderstorms across that area. Big dome of high pressure coming in behind the cold front, though, bringing in much more pleasant air. And behind that, we have another system moving through the southern portions of Canada, as you can see. The low in the southwest has kind of shifted southward a little bit, keeping a lot of the moisture in northern Mexico, as you'll see. Heading into this afternoon, cold front moving through the Great Lakes into the western Ohio Valley, central Mississippi Valley. There will be showers and thunderstorms continuing along that. Some of those will be heavy, and in some places could be severe weather as well. Spotty afternoon thunderstorms, as is typical in southern portions of the Mississippi Valley into the southeast. You'll notice the southwest, with that low being farther south, not really getting a whole lot of moisture. Heading into the day tomorrow, then, we'll start off with the cool front. Not too much activity along it from the northeast down into Arkansas, and you can see a little bit of rain coming into the Pacific Northwest there. And as we head through the afternoon hours, we'll see a little bit of shower activity moving into the northern Rockies, and also that front will kind of moisten up in the afternoon with more showers and thunderstorms. There's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. These have been some pretty heavy amounts. In some areas that really needed it. Southern Iowa, northern Missouri, looks like you got a decent amount in most of that area. And as we add in the next 36 hours, you can see how that spreads off to the southeast, but not nearly as heavy as it was just previously, like last night and yesterday. But we'll have to watch that system as it comes east, because there will definitely be some heavier showers and thunderstorms in places. So cooler air moving into the northern plains this afternoon. Look at that, 60s and 70s in the western Corn Belt, eastern Corn Belt still in the 80s, at least as we head through today, but it cools down even there as we head into tonight. 40s and 50s, northern Great Lakes, mostly 50s though and low 60s across the Corn Belt. The really muggy air has been shoved all the way down into the southeast and the southern plains. As you can see, high temperatures tomorrow afternoon. Lots of 80s, Texas and Oklahoma, but 70s dominate most of the Great Lakes with a few 60s near some of the lakes and other parts of the upper Midwest into the Northeast. So that's some cool air. Even though that trough doesn't look that impressive, you'll notice the next trough just kind of keeps its zonal flow as we head through this holiday weekend. Then the ridge pops back up into the Northeast and Great Lakes by the middle of next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Ogden, Utah, first of all. Mostly sunny, rather warm, high of 85 degrees. Peoria, Illinois, clouds early, then some sunshine and less humid, high of 78. And Salisbury, Maryland, hot and humid, but there will be lots of sunshine, high around 94.
Coming up, the most popular apple in the United States is being dethroned for the first time in 5 decades. Which variety is replacing it? And is there new tariff assistance available for the produce sector? All that and more in the Packer Block.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
Some produce groups are reacting to the news of USDA's trade mitigation plan, saying the produce industry is not receiving enough compensation. Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer reporting USDA is purchasing roughly $90 million each of apples, dairy products, and pistachios as aid for the industry. Western Growers President and CEO Tom Nassif saying that's not enough and time is of the essence. Quote, at first glance, it appears USDA's mitigation efforts will fall substantially short of making fruit, vegetable, and tree nut farmers whole for the damages they have incurred and will continue to incur as a result of the trade war with China. Nassif saying he's pleased with the creative approach to target aid for exporters, but disappointed other ideas were not adapted in USDA's plan. Pecan growers are also receiving additional assistance from USDA, but it's due to storms damaging the crop back in 2017. The department announcing there will be $15 million worth of assistance available for pecan growers to replant and replace trees through the Tree Assistance Program, also known as TAP. Growers and nursery tree growers need to have a certain mortality loss to be eligible. In addition to TAP, growers may be eligible for other 2014 Farm Bill programs. Well, the Gala apple is now the most popular apple variety in the United States, dethroning Red Delicious from its top spot, one it's held for at least 5 decades. According to the U.S. Apple Association, U.S. growers in 2018 will produce over 52,000 boxes of Gala apples, up 5.8% from last year. Growers of Red Delicious will produce over 51,000 boxes, down 11%. Up next, a visit to the theater, surrounded by natural beauty of the Dairy State.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M7060, built to get the job done. See KubotaUSA.com or your local Kubota dealer for more information.
Labor Day is almost here. That day often marks the end of the summer travel season. But if you're still on the road and it takes you to Wisconsin, you can catch stage performances in the most unlikely place, the great outdoors. Door County, Wisconsin is a big tourist draw located on the thumb jutting out into Lake Michigan and the waters of Green Bay. That region offers not 1 but 2 outdoor theaters. So you can get entertained while taking in the natural beauty of the state. Northern Sky Theater and the Peninsula Players Theater both are located in Cedar Forest.
We encourage people to come early. We say bring a picnic, sit down, relax. We've got 1,000 feet of shoreline. Come and watch the setting sun. Celebrate with your friends, with your family.
So Northern Sky Theater is a professional musical theater troupe that is distinctive in that it performs solely original musicals that are set in our region, and specifically in Wisconsin. So you get to see ice fishermen on stage, or deer hunters on stage, or alien Packer fans from across the galaxy on stage.
The Northern Sky Theater has some rather creative titles, including Derrieres and Muskie Love. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.